Yes, sounds good. Thanks, Leo. And hello, everyone who's joining. So, yeah, basically, we're here today to talk a little bit about a super exciting use case that we're working on with a few different customers, which is all about comparing complex documents at scale. And a lot of time we are using ChatGPT, which is pretty cool. And a lot of our customers just happen to be insurance use cases, and we're from insurance customers. So there's definitely demand there. So we thought we'll come online and share some of our kind of learnings and expertise of what we've been doing with our customers as well. So to get things started, to quickly talk through the agenda and what's going to kind of happen over the next 40 to 50 minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about document comparison, what it is, how helpful it can be, linking that to insurance and why it seems to be working so well right now and why it's in such demand. And then we're going to deep dive into particular use cases that we think are really powerful and can add a lot of value to insurers, but can also be used across different other industries as well. So that's pretty cool. And then Leo will take over and we'll talk a little bit more about the technical details of how GPT fits into the AI application, then take one of the insurance use cases and do a deep dive into how that fits with our platforms and how we're developing and building it. So that's what it will look like. Just quickly make sure everyone knows who we are before we'll introduce ourselves. I'll pass over to Leo.
So hello, everyone from my side as well. My name is Leonard Püttmann, and I'm a solution architect here at Kern AI. And yeah, really looking forward to today's session. And I give it right back to you, Jason.
Thanks, Leo. Yeah, hello everyone, I'm Jason Viard and I'm the go-to-market manager at Kern AI. I spend a lot of my time thinking about really enterprise level use cases that can be built on top of Kern's really powerful developer AI platform. So really thinking about how companies can really leverage large language models, AI, and kind of embrace the next phase of innovation, which kind of what we're seeing in AI right now. So really exciting. And to really get started on things, let's talk about document comparison and why we're here presenting it today. So just to make sure everyone's on the same page and we all know what we're talking about, I just want to quickly go to the basics. What do we mean by document comparison? It's taking several different documents, text-based PDFs seem to be the mostly kind of recurring documents we're seeing, taking different documents and having the ability to leverage large language model to ask one question and receive an accurate quality answer across multiple different documents at one time. So asking a question once, taking in a bunch of different documents and getting really accurate answers. So that does save a lot of time when you think about manual way to look up that information. And you can ask questions like, does a policy provide a sublimit for flood damage in coastal areas? And we fully expect the AI to give you a good answer. And that's what we've been kind of working a lot on to making sure that process works really well. And we're talking about complex documentation. So really, we're after documents that are more unstructured, so different layouts, different fonts, different, all that kind of stuff. Complex in language, so it works really well. And you see the real power of AI when we're talking about more complex language of documentation. So this could be looking at policies or legal or any kind of more language being used by the company, which maybe, if you think about it, customers or more regular people would understand or really hard to kind of grasp what that means. And documents with varying layouts and styles. So this can be colors, boxes, graphs, multiple different things. So that's where we're seeing the real kind of power of what AI can add value to companies, talking complex, unstructured documents. And just to kind of step back, AI versus human, we're now seeing, a big sudden growth in AI, and it makes sense. The technology has come a long way quite in a short space of time. And AI is now here to support us with lots of very manual, time-consuming jobs. And that really gives a lot of potential opportunity for businesses and for employees and teams to leverage AI. And it's got to the point where it can support on many repetitive, labor-intensive tasks that are usually things that people don't like doing so often. Let's get that kind of task to AI to do, and we can spend our time on much more fun, interesting tasks. And why is this the case? So analyzing complex documents does take time, especially if layouts and formats do differ. So AI is extremely fast, even with different layouts, and has the ability to process that super quicker than humans. When analyzing vast amount of data, human error is inevitable due to fatigue and other human limitations. AI doesn't experience that, so it really is powering so many other elements of what we're not so good at all the time. Also, it can support labor shortages. So if a business needs to focus on something, it can't find the right people, hasn't got the manpower, it can now leverage AI to tap straight into that. And humans can only hold a certain amount of knowledge, while AI applications can hold a lot more. So it's really, really is powerful. And it makes sense for companies to really start looking into the power of AI. It's a generational innovation that we're seeing. The first time in my working, can't quite see the writing there for their faces, but it's basically, maybe I can hide Leo for a moment. There we go. It's in my lifetime, the first time we're seeing such a growth of a particular kind of embedded workflow software into companies that makes a real change beyond then just looking at kind of the normal B2B SaaS style applications. So that's super exciting. So current state of AI makes this exciting. Large language models are making it even more exciting and accessible. To figure out why, we're going to look into a few different elements and there's innovation in AI that we're seeing that makes this possible. So understanding semantic similarities, large language models can now understand the context and semantics of text rather than just matching keywords. So this allows them to compare the meaning and intent of documents, even if the wording is different. And that's a really powerful new feature that we're leveraging with large language models. Processing large volumes of text. So large language models can handle and process big data sets, bigger than what humans can. And also it's scalable. You can keep adding to it. So you can have a bunch of documents, upload it once into your AI, and it's always going to be there. You can start adding on top, adding on top. You don't need to file them away and go back to try and find them later. It's all there, accessible all the time, which is pretty cool. And the ability to summarize summarization capabilities. So we're going to talk a few different features about large language models, the ability to extract core information, but they can now take that information and create summaries, lengthy documents, turn it into paragraphs, and also dumb down language. So this complex language that we're focused on can then work really well if we want to make sure that's ready for customers to read or see. And great user experience. I think personalized responses in a user-friendly UI with a sophisticated large language model, which ChatGPT is, and that's really kind of changed the game for everyone, right? Having something so powerful in a really simple chatbot is pretty powerful. We know chatbots have been around for a while, but never as sophisticated as GPT or any of the others that are on the market. So if you can combine that with then a more sophisticated AI model that leverages GPT, you can have something that goes even further, which is pretty cool. Okay, so how does ChatGPT fit into this? So GPT is making AI at business level quite possible, which is cool. And we're talking about it a lot so far. And the reason is GPT can understand semantic similarities. It can process large volumes of text, can extract text, analyze, and then summarize it, which is cool. But there's also a few things that's worth mentioning in that makes GPT good sometimes in some scenarios, but also maybe not the ideal scenario for every application or the ideal large language model or software you're using. So data privacy, GPT out of the box is not the most secure. You don't want to upload a lot of your documents straight into the ChatGPT interface, of course. That would be a big no-no from us. Domain topic knowledge. So GPT knows a lot about a lot, but doesn't know absolutely everything. And if you're working on a more specific domain of information, it's worth thinking about fine-tuning it so it really understands the context of your business, your topics, your customers, whatever it might be. Visual elements. GPT is good for natural language processing, so the text-based documents. But if you're looking at graphs, videos, images, GPT isn't the most useful at all times. There could be other tools that we need to integrate into AI to make that work really well, but there are lots of possibilities. And lots of things coming out every day to help with that. And limited domain RAG, so retrieval augmented generation. So again, GPT is really good out of the box, but there's lots of customization that we can do to make it work really, really well. So just one kind of first lesson from us, I guess, is an important point. GPT is powerful, could be ideal for your application, but also consider other alternative LLMs. And there's a future webinar about this topic coming at some point soon, because it is a big topic. Okay, so Insurance and AI, a perfect match. So let's pivot to why we're talking about insurance specifically today. From a current perspective, we're seeing lots of interest from insurers for this type of use case. So clearly there is a need and demand there, which is really, really cool. And the insurance industry is really primed to leverage the opportunity that AI is right now. And when we're thinking about document comparison as a singular use case, we can also go across a lot of different document types: policy documents, PDF, claim forms, underwriting contracts, risk assessments, reports, insurance slips, compliance documents. Lots of options and lots of different processes that probably could benefit from AI as well. And so some of the stats that do kind of back up that thinking that I found, and that I think a lot of insurers are seeing every day: certain roles still spend 30% of their time on manual analysis of tasks and workflows. Just imagine if you could automate 20% of that and get maybe half a day back for other tasks. Pretty powerful. Gain crucial insights quicker. So Gen AI is expected to significantly impact the insurance industry by automating processes like underwriting and pricing. This is going to happen. So now's the time to really embed that workflow to then able to get a real competitive advantage, because the adoption is pretty inevitable, it seems so far, if you read a lot of these reports. The global AI insurance market is valued at nearly 3 billion, probably maybe near 4 or 5 right now. By 2031, it's reported it's going to be worth near 50 billion. A lot of investment, a lot of processes going into it. Again, today is the day to really start thinking about how you want to implement that and scale your processes. And then AI is projected to also help top line, bottom line, and give a real kind of financial benefit to companies, insurers that are looking to implement it and deploy it today and for future years. So AI adoption challenges exist though. So it's worth us also just highlighting potential big numbers and big benefits, but with it, of course, come challenges, and AI is to suddenly happen very quickly. And there's a few pitfalls that we're seeing quite often that companies are afraid of or have somehow kind of managed to kind of stumble across, or something that's stopping them from really trying to leverage Gen AI. I just want to highlight a few of those today. So lack of internal expertise. There is a shortage of skilled AI professionals and data scientists. Basically, AI seem to come from basically nowhere quite quickly. A lot of companies are scrambling, trying to find the in-house resources they need to really kind of leverage AI. Why not just use, a company like Kern to help with that? Integrating with legacy systems. So a lot of systems we use have been around for a while, especially if you're thinking of industries like insurance. They weren't necessarily built with AI in mind. So how do you integrate and connect that is a big blocker of deployment, but it shouldn't be. And ensuring data is ready, your data is AI ready. So an AI application is only as good as the data driving it, and that's a key thing to remember. At Kern, we really focus on more data-centric AI applications because the data is so important. If you have the wrong data going in, chances are you're going to get the wrong response, which then means your AI is pretty useless. So keep that in mind. But also, we're keen to talk about a few tricks, a few things that you should consider when you're looking into the AI adoption, what things that you can do. So identifying PII in your data. So leveraging a local large language model that identifies insensitive data, emails, customer number, figures, amounts, things like that. We can talk about a little bit later on how we do it, but we've figured out a way where we localize a large language model that can identify all of these sensitive data. We can then go to our database and tweak and edit it. So none of that is visible when it reaches large language models that are kind of plugged in for their features that could be somehow connected to other systems. Enrich your facts using AI. Once you've uploaded all your data that's driving your AI, it shouldn't ever end there, the data processing element to it. So what we do at Kern with our data engine refinery, we have the ability to leverage machine learning algorithms that can actually tell us if there's a particular fact or data element that could be hard to understand for a customer or be of low quality, too wordy, for example. And it can highlight these facts, these data elements in our data. We can then manually go and edit, change it, and we know they're the pieces that we should be focusing on to improve. And then pick a large language model by data complexity. So simple data sets might need simpler models, which is good because it could save you money. More expensive large language models do cost a little bit more. So just making sure you're picking the right model for their application. Could be a money saver for you. So use cases for AI in the insurance sector. So we spoke a lot about the impact it could have and different types of processes behind it, embedded workflows. But now let's talk about particular use cases and where we can really see value in terms of document comparison and different elements of the insurance. So we've got tariff comparison. So insurance sector thrives on competitive tariffs, yet comparing them can be audacious, prone to human error. It can take a long time, but really understanding pricing is very important for any strategic decisions going forward, right? So it's something that has to happen, does happen, can take a little bit of time. AI can really kind of support this process. And how high level an application for AI could be set up here? You would have a database that is powered by past and current tariff documentation. So again, a one-time thing, upload all of your tariff information. It could be your own tariff from previous years. You can look at maybe competitors, anything you found online. There we can upload it all into your database, then make sure it's ready and enriched for your AI application. You would then kind of layer on top your advanced secure information retrieval response generation. And what that means is you've got the ability to then leverage large language model, that your local large language model can be fine-tuned on your database or documentation. And then you can plug in a GPT to make use of its features, ability to extract, summarize, and then generate really accurate responses. And this example, what we use is what I would call a spreadsheet modeled UI, which basically means you can actually go in and select the different documents you want to compare. So in this example, we've got a tariff from 2020 versus a tariff in 2023, just to see how much the values changed or maybe the wording of particular clauses changed. And on the left, you've got all the different questions. You ask one question and you get information instantly for both documents. And then you continue adding documents out as well. And that can really speed up large elements of the tariff comparison process. In a vast kind of amount being analyzed at one time. AI policy comparison. So a lot of policies, products can sometimes be a little bit confusing, or there could be different risk profiles based on the particular elements of what a policy could be. And maybe you're a reinsurer and you've got a master contract and policy, and maybe you've got similar contracts you want to potentially reinsure, but you're not sure if the risk profile is correct for that particular customer. What you can do is you can upload your master contract, like here, and then you can upload all these subcontracts that you want to compare to the master one. And then very similar, the ability to ask a question on the master contract, get the information from all the subcontracts, and very quickly scan. Can you provide coverage limits? 300,000 for master contract, 250 contract A. Actually, contract B does not include this clause, so that could be a higher risk profile contract for you. And then contract C, maybe 150K there. So that gives you ability to quickly scan, support the process to see if actually there is contracts that just have higher risk profiles versus what you expect to see. And this is really good for also leveraging semantic search. So even if the wording isn't 100% correct, we do fully expect the large language model to be able to really understand the context of the contract. So even if the wording's slightly different, it can understand that that's still the same question. And you can even ask the large language model to, in my previous example, is actually kind of retrieve the wording it used for a particular clause, which then you can go in and do a bit more research to make sure actually every element you expect to be covered is covered in that as well. So not just stuck to figures. Another big one is fraud detection. So leverage AI to compare submitted customer documents. You could be thinking car repair, medical reports, and you can compare that with a template or previous claims to quickly support the fraud detection process. So how that could work, you might receive a new medical report from a customer into your inbox. Link that with your AI model. And that could be your AI model is fine-tuned on any previously legitimate reports and documentation. So that's kind of the database there is of previous legitimate items you've received. So then the large language model can really understand what is good versus what is maybe not so legitimate. You could then leverage machine learning algorithms to analyze and identify patterns and anomalies in the new report. And basically this way, it's giving you a predictive modeling. What's the predictive chance of the actual report you got as being not correct, fraudulent, whatever it might be. And then last part, you still want to have some kind of UI and maybe a flagging process. So then you know any potential document that looks like it could be fraudulent, you want that to be flagged to a person in the loop. And then you can quickly then kind of flag any documents that need to be checked by a human, just so then they can give their expertise over it as well. So that's a real time-saving use case. And then regulatory compliance. So comparing what you're doing internal versus maybe some external regulatory compliance that you need to follow. And what I'm showing here is more of a chatbot style use case, UI, but it also will leverage the spreadsheet style UI. And there you can compare general legislation docs, stuff you get sent from government or from different legal bodies. Take that as your master copy, have your internal documentation, compare it. What's different? What's the same? Is the wording different? How does it compare? And this really helps with better consistency of analysis, thanks to high level accuracy. Again, leveraging AI to maybe improve elements that humans aren't so good at. And also could be a cost reduction to businesses. A better management of resources is a large, large benefit of that. And last one I'm going to talk about is invoice recognition and matching. So something we're working on currently with a customer who seemed quite excited about it, is utilizing AI to minimize data entry of invoices. So this helps boost financial accuracy, improve an operational efficiency. And what we mean by that is we're using AI to extract the metadata from any documents. In this example, invoices. So again, invoice arrives into your inbox. AI can process that, extract key information, customer number, invoice number, and then that can, in theory, input it into your management invoice financial software. It's like an AI matching mechanism. So if you've got an invoice open in your accounting software, you can then match the new invoice you got manually, no human intervention, a real-time saver, and you can give that a tick. Pretty cool.
Let's continue. So you start out with a kind of spreadsheet layout in which you have your documents and you have the questions that you want to get answers to compare these documents on a very large scale. How would you go about this then? So first of all, you would take one question that you have about the documents. For example, in this case, we have different policies about travel insurances. And here we want to know, is travel to the European Union covered in this specific product? In this case, the name of the product would be the Global Explorer policy. Then we take that and we pass this over to a so-called vector database. And you can think of this vector database as a sort of mini search engine that you can build on top of our own data and our own documents. So this database contains all the policies and all the files that we have as a company, so that we can build our own Google on the policies that we have to then retrieve relevant passages and relevant facts from the files that we have. And when we have retrieved relevant passages from the files, we can use these to then answer the questions that we have at hand. We can then pass the passages to a large language model, like, for example, ChatGPT, to reformulate all the information that we retrieved from our data, a precise for our spreadsheet that we can fill in back into the spreadsheet again. So in this case, for example, we will get the answer that yes, the coverage is stated in section 2.3, and we can also get a longer argumentation here to really understand this result was created then. And this whole approach is that you have the ability to customize and really enrich the whole process. For example, if you want to retrieve data from additional databases, you can do all of that. If you want to do some specific cleaning or transformation of the data during the process before you give something to a large language model, for example, you have the full ability to do all of that right there. And also a really, really great thing about this whole approach is the ability to integrate this complete pipeline wherever you need it. So you can just simply use an Excel spreadsheet. You can use an internal system that you already have, and you have really a lot of freedom in where and how to use this in a way that's best suited for you. So let's more detail. Let's apply this whole document comparison approach to our own data that we have. And I briefly talked about this before, but to show you an example of how you can do this document comparison with large language models, we're going to take a dummy company that we have created, which is called Global Guard Insurance. And Global Guard Insurance has a lot of policies and files about travel and health insurances. And we're going to use large language models to compare all these documents and insurances that this company is offering. But before we get started, we somehow need to make our documents usable by the AI. And there are some neat tricks that we can apply to do exactly that. So first of all, we need to cut our data into smaller, we call this flashcards. So we cannot sadly pass the whole documents into a language model to answer questions about the documents, because the context size of these language models is sadly a bit limited still. And also that would be a little bit too inaccurate and also very expensive. So what we can do is we can cut our documents into small flashcards that we can then search for and retrieve, and then pass to the language model, get an answer that is accurate and reliable, and that we can then use in our document comparison spreadsheet. So using this process data, we built a sort of mini search engine, which we can then use to retrieve all the flashcards when we need them, and we feed them then into the large language model at the right time. But often the data that we have is hidden in some PDF files. Sometimes the files are just scans. All the files are very crowded. How can we actually access the data that's in there? And how do we make sure in the most cases that we process the data in the right way so that everything goes well down the line? And for that, we have built up a really nice tool, which we use to process and extract the data from the PDFs. For example, here we can check is of these flashcards not too long. So you want to make sure that the information there is not cut off in the first place, and you also want to make sure that it's not too much information on one flashcard. Otherwise, it can maybe confuse or irritate the language model and lead to inaccuracy. Also, maybe you find some errors, or you want to improve the structure and the layout of these flashcards, and so you can do all of this very easily here in the tool itself. And after we've done that, after we have extracted all the relevant data from the files, we can download everything and then create a project in our tool, which is called Kern AI Cognition. So let's do exactly that. We have our process documents here as a simple spreadsheet. We then choose the column that we want to use for our language model. In this case, this is the content column. We then select a language model. In this case, we're just going to use OpenAI. And then we use something which is really, really cool, which is what we call the wizard. So an automatic pre-processing or processing system for our documents and for our data, which takes care of a lot of things automatically for us. So getting everything in the right shape, searching up that mini search engine that I talked about, and making sure that you can start using your data right away. So I would say pretty cool stuff. After the project is created, you have the ability to create different strategies and custom pipelines for your project. And this is how, for example, a project could look like when it's finished. You have different strategies, for example, for different products or for different stages of. And let's take a look at the individual components that we use in comparison pipelines. So far, we think it's really, really important to understand the data that is coming in and that you're feeding into the language run. So when we think about chat use cases, for example, we want to know what does the user actually expect from the chatbot, like a very complex and difficult question. How's the question structured? And in our document comparison use case, this is all super important to understand. But here, maybe the complexity of it is more interesting. And understanding this right away is a huge advantage in the next steps of our whole process. That's why we always include a question component in all of our projects in Cognition. And in these notes, we call them, we provide you access to custom AI models that we have built at Kern AI that help you to immediately, without training or tuning any models yourself, that immediately help you understand the type or the complexity of data that is coming in, so that you can start right away with your project and your use case. That you can route, for example, to a retrieval component where you then search your documents to get the right information at the right time. Here, for example, we use the Azure OpenAI embedding service to find documents for our data. Remember, I previously talked about that we have some travel insurance documents that we want to search through. And if we have, for example, the question, okay, is a specific area in this document, and then get the data and feed this in the next step, for example, to a language model. Here we have an OpenAI GPT model where we can also give some specific instruction on how we want the model to behave and how we want the answer from look like. A little bit further down, we can also see that we have full control over all the data that is going in. We also have control over the language model that we use for this use case, because AI's models are very, very good and they are very easy to use. But for example, if we have very sensitive data, we want to make sure that everything is kept safe and that we also comply with regulatory laws, for example. And so maybe we want to use an open source model. And these models are also and are really becoming viable for our use cases. So also in the language model section, you have a lot of freedom to choose the best model for you and give the instructions that you need to customize these pipelines for you. All right. But of course, you don't want to instantly integrate all of this and test this out, for example, in an Excel spreadsheet. So you also have the opportunity to check the answers that would then go into your system or into your spreadsheet. You can check all the answers, of course, in the Cognition tool as well. And here, for example, you would have the question again, okay, is a specific area like the European Union covered by the local explorer policy? And then further down below, you can check the actual answer from the GPT model. This is not a mock here, so we actually ran this through our pipeline and use a language model to answer this question. And here we can see that travel to the US from the European Union is not permitted in this case. And we can then take this answer if you think it's good and it's accurate, and then uses in a spreadsheet then. Cognition is really a powerful orchestration tool to build these really, really cool language model pipelines. And the underlying workflow can be integrated wherever we need it. So think of like an Excel spreadsheet where we can use, for example, VBA, which is Excel's programming language, to integrate this, or custom solution, an internal system, wherever we need this, we can then line. So I'm a technical person. I like to do things. So for example, what I did is I triggered the Cognition API inside a data science notebook where I wrote down some Python code. And I then used this data science notebook to create an Excel spreadsheet that I could then share with, for example, a colleague or with some other people in my company. And really, after that, all the magic happens wherever you need it. All right. That's about it for the document comparison use case for today. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. If you're interested in getting a demo for this, you can, of course, scan the QR code. We really hope that you learned something today in this use case. If you missed the version of this webinar, sadly, then you can, of course, watch the recording of today's session to really watch that as well. Other than that, Jay, is there anything that I missed?
Nope, I think you covered everything. So thanks for joining. Hopefully, yeah, you got value in the webinar and really were able to watch Leo's segment. And yeah, we will reshare the recording with you afterwards. And if you are interested in seeing how your documents look in an AI application, we're really, really happy to create a free demo for you. More lightweight application, but it'll give you a real good insight of what capabilities AI has and what value it can add to you. So if that is of interest, can scan the QR code, get in touch with me or Leo, and we're more than happy to chat and maybe learn a little bit more about your use case. And I think that's
Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, see you hopefully next time as well.
Bye, everyone.